Hi, I go by Stevie, but the name on my peer review sheet should be Stevie COF. Alright. Okay. It is said that knowledge is the greatest thing a person can obtain, and with knowledge all can be accomplished. My claim is that the education system in America needs to be reformed. I will base this off of my three premises, the first being the ranking of the United States in the top 20 school systems across the world. The second, that schools focus on preparing students for standardized testing and the testing is not adequate. And the third is a program created in order to reform the system but ended up just making it worse. So my first claim is, according to the NBC Times, the United States is ranked number 17 out of the top 20 countries for the education system. Finland was first and South Korea was second. One of these aspects that comes along with achieving educational success was not the amount of money that was put into the school system, but the mindset that education is prized and that parents, teachers, and students care about education that is being received. Some of the key aspects in leading the education systems are that school starts at 7 years old. By that I mean the children are 7. No homework for young children. No exams until the children turn 13, so that grade level. All classes are mixed ability, so GATE and average and below average children are all mixed together in the classroom. They're not separated. A maximum of 16 students in science classes. Lots of break time every day. Teacher training is to a master's level, and teacher training is paid for by the government. In the United States, none of these aspects are in a requirement for the education system. In fact, the opposite. Students start school around the age of 5. Homework is assigned daily. Exams are given from the first grade level, which is kindergarten. Children are placed into GATE programs if they seem to excel and are divided. Science classes exceed 16 students per class. There are usually 2 recess breaks and lunch breaks given for students. Teachers are required to have a bachelor's degree and teaching credentials, not a master's, and no training is paid for by the government. My second claim is that schools focus on preparing students for the standardized state testing rather than overall well-rounded education. Teachers are evaluated on the scores of their students. Each student that attends public schools are required to take standardized testing at the end of the year. This testing is based off of subjects learned in schools such as English, math, and science. There was a study that examined the impact of mandated standardized testing on curriculum and instruction in mathematics and science for minority students. The data was obtained from 2,229 mathematics and science teachers of high and low minority classes, and interviews were conducted with 289 urban educators. The result of the survey was that tests were found to fail adequate with sample higher order thinking, high-level conceptual or high-level procedural knowledge in either subject. The teachers were found more likely to report negative impacts on these tests. This study was funded by the National Science Foundation. My third claim is that the education system needs to be reformed, and there was a program that was launched in 2001. The school system was in desperate need of help and reform, otherwise this program wouldn't have been launched. This program is called the No Child Left Behind, and it was created to fix our public school systems, but has done more damage than correcting it. This program has essentially made teachers focus on having students pass and have high test scores rather than a better overall education. There's no evidence that this program has done the school system anything good. And that's all. Thank you.
All right, Stevie, the proposition's clearly identified that there's a need for reform. I'm not sure that there's a lot of controversy because everybody, I think, believes that our school systems could be improved. The question is, what reform would work? And that's one of the things I think is a little bit problematic about your third point, because if your argument is that there needs to be reform and there's a good demonstration that reforms haven't worked in the past, that seems to undermine your position instead of advancing the position. So the whole No Child Left Behind thing seems to be out of place, because that was an attempt to reform, and if it didn't produce any particular advantage, why bother reforming? Why would we do something if reforms are not going to change? On the first point, you've got all of this information about school systems in other places and all the things that they do, and I think that that's a good starting point, but you haven't got any evidence that shows that that's the thing that causes the students to be doing better, or the schools to be more productive than what we have in our educational system. The number of recesses, the absence or presence of tests, separating the GATE students or not separating the GATE students, those are all interesting points, but where's the data that shows that that's the kind of thing that produces the higher outcomes or creates the lower outcomes that we've got and is lowering the standards? I think there's a link missing in that argument, and that's a pretty important consideration. The second point was, well, the movement to the second point was clear, but I'm not exactly sure what your inference was on that point. There is some general information about test scores and whether or not they are working. I'm not sure how it's substantially different from the criticism that was in the first point. The first and third points, by the way, in the preview need to be phrased as claims, and they're not really. They're just informational labels that you have. If you had a bit clearer claim, I think that would help maybe make sense of especially that third argument and why it's there. Let's see. Yeah, I think I've covered everything that I was going to say. I did think that the presentation was pretty nice, but again, you've got everything in 4 minutes, and there's a lot of stuff going on in this subject that needs to be explained a little bit more. All right, thank you.